in their exoskeletons to withstand the pressure. Anything we tried to bring up from the bottom of the ocean, by the time it got to the surface, had melted because it had no pressure holding it together. We were the aliens at the bottom of the ocean, not them. We were fortunate on our expedition that we collected hundreds of thousands of samples. We, even with our cameras and videos on the submersible, on the landers, we filmed the deepest octopus in history, the deepest squid, the deepest amphipod or shrimp, and even the deepest fish. That's what happens when you build something that's never been built before and can explore areas that have never been explored. Yeah, you make a lot of discoveries. It's incredibly satisfying. This is the strangest thing we ever saw, because I always get asked that. Watch closely on the monitor. This is from the lander. It had some dead fish as bait. And this thing drifted up out of the murk in the Java Trench of Indonesia. We think it smelled the food and came by to take a look. This is a new species. This had never been seen before. And I was standing next to my chief scientist when we saw this on the monitors when we were looking at the video. He was a dour old Scot, PhD in deep ocean marine biology, probably the best in the world. I said, "What is that?" He said, "I haven't got a effing clue." And then just last December, I've sold that whole system to a marine research organization. They were off the coast of Antarctica. They found another one. 7,000 miles away in a deep ocean trench, utterly unconnected to the Java Trench. How did it get there? Divergent evolution? Parallel evolution? Migratory DNA? We don't know. But it's a scientific mystery, and that's a cool thing to do, is that sometimes in exploration, you create more questions than answers. This was really cool. This is at 11,000 meters at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. You see the gold areas here? You think, oh, that's, sulfur or maybe even gold. No, those are bacterial colonies. Those are animals living off of chemicals in the rocks. There's no photosynthesis down there. There's no light. This is life living in a way completely abnormal from what we live up here. Put it in an electron microscope. You can see the colonies of the animals living at these extraordinary depths. Let's increase the magnification by another 10x. It's an animal living in the most brutal, hostile environment on planet Earth. If we find life on other planets, like the moons of Saturn, Enceladus, Ganymede, Europa, it's going to look like this, almost certainly. Not like a gazelle running around the Serengeti. This is what exobiology will look like. And yet we were finding it here on planet Earth. Got to mention the Titanic. It happened to be on the way. You have a submersible, you got to dive the Titanic. So we did 5 dives on Titanic for National Geographic. No one had been there for 5 years. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to vanish in 10 years. It's really, really big. It's made of iron. It's just going to slowly degenerate. But that was the most dangerous dive that I ever did because the currents are very strong. So strong that it would overpower the sub at times. And there are a lot of cables and a lot of ropes. That's the most deadly thing to a submersible. You don't want to become entangled because you can't get out to untangle yourself. But it was really, really cool. This is what it's like to dive at the bottom of the Red Sea. Also a completely alien environment. So hopefully this plays. Yeah, this is what it's like to skim the bottom of the Red Sea in a submersible. Strange creatures living in incredibly hyper-saline water. Very warm. I still don't really know what's going on with those animals. But this is what it's like to be in a sub at the bottom of a major sea. I was fortunate to take down the son of the first person to the bottom of the ocean. I took down Kelly Walsh, and I was able to take down the first woman, Dr. Catherine Sullivan, who was the first American female spacewalker. So I'm very proud that I was able to take her down because she was not just the first woman to go into space and go to the bottom of the ocean. She was the first person. And we did it 6 months before the Chinese did it. And on that note, I also took down the first person of Asian descent, and I made sure he was from Taiwan. some of the wonderful creatures you find in doing ocean exploration. And these are some pictures from the wrecks of the USS Johnston, the US Samuel B. Roberts, which were just incredibly moving as a former naval officer to actually to film these wrecks. I was very happy that the fact that building new technology is a wonderful experience if you have any ability to do so or contribute funds to those that are trying to push technology in investing or anything else that you do. The first dive to the bottom of the ocean was in 1960 with a Trieste. The second was Jim Cameron, Deep Sea Challenger in 2012. And then we started diving in 2018. And we took down 17 more people. And now we made it routine. You want to make the extraordinary routine. That is a wonderful objective to have. And then, hey, who doesn't want to go to space? If you have any inclination whatsoever to go into space, go into space. It's like the most intense, insane rock concert you have ever been to. Going to the bottom of the ocean is like crawling deep, deep down into the bottom of a pyramid. The sense of time is huge. You just feel ancient. But in space, good Lord, you can see forever. You get a sense of scale, and it's just so much fun. So training for space, it's really boring. So that's me. They caught me sleeping because there's not a lot to do. But I was able to meet Charlie Duke, who actually talked to Neil Armstrong when he was on the moon and landed there. He was one of the guys working with us in mission control. So that was kind of special. What am I doing now? That's the number one question I get asked. So what are you doing now? Like I asked John Harkey. One thing I'm doing, I'm still very privileged and happy to continue explorations in the ocean. I've become obsessed with mapping the ocean because so much of it is still unmapped. I'm trying to use satellites to map coastal areas, and I was fortunate to work with a group, and we've now mapped over 250,000 square kilometers off of Florida, off of Mozambique, we're now doing Greenland, to actually map coastal areas in a way that's so much more efficient than using a ship. But I'm also, for the deep ocean, I'm trying to design and build that vessel, which I hope will be the most efficient deep ocean mapping vessel ever constructed that could map up to 1 million square kilometers per year per ship. And I'm hoping that once I get this built in 2 years and show what it can do, that other people and organizations will want to buy one as well so we can accelerate the pace of mapping our oceans. Other things I'm doing, I'm developing new technologies for a next generation submersible to build one that's even more capable than the one I dove with in 2018 and 2019. That arm, manipulator arms in the deep ocean routinely fail because they're based on hydraulics. I got tired of mine failing. So I'm trying to develop one that's based on artificial muscle that actually is electrically stimulated like a bionic arm that actually would be impervious to pressure. It doesn't exist. So I'm working with the university up in Michigan and we're trying to build a prototype. When it's ready, it'll hopefully go on not just my sub, but other subs to have more reliable ability to retrieve samples from the very bottom of the ocean. We have over 200 pounds of moon rocks. We have less than 10 pounds of rocks from the bottom of the ocean because it's that hard. Also developing a next generation submersible. I wanted to go faster. I wanted to have more screens. I wanted to have more lights. I wanted to have more cameras. I just wanted to be more awesome. So why not? I'm still alive. Push the boundary. I'm also working in biotech. I'm trying to develop some artificial viruses to cure 1 or 2 incurable diseases with a scientific team out of Seattle. That's my day job. I'm also, as I was mentioned earlier, I'm an investor in Colossal Biosciences, which is just up the street from here. It's here in Dallas. And we are literally trying to develop the technologies to de-extinct species. Not dinosaurs. You will not see a velociraptor at North Park anytime soon. But you may see an extinct animal that, no kidding, has not walked on the earth for tens of thousands of years, hopefully being born really soon. Not that one, but I would love to see a dodo bird, but that's on our list. We're also working on, why not? We're developing genetic tools. I've seen these in the lab here in Dallas, bioluminescent plants. These don't really exist, but this will be like living in Avatar. But we're working on species to do that. And then I think, as John mentioned as well, just this week, a company I've also invested in, we launched a satellite probe into space to do a flyby of an asteroid. It looks like we lost the satellite. Actually,